Hey everyone, welcome to Spoiler Mode. We are here to talk about Super Mario Brothers. We've got AJ and Huber and Damiani here. We've all seen this movie countless times. But this is your final warning because Spoiler Mode is activated right now.
Spoiler mode, final warning, spoiler mode, activated.
Hey everybody, here we are for real. We got AJ here. How you doing, man?
Hello. Good. I'm excited about this. I watched this movie on my birthday, so I...
Nice.
Like recently?
Past birthday, yes.
When was your birthday?
July 7-Eleven Slurpee Day, baby. Yeah.
So
I mean, it
July.
was over the summer.
I was like, your birthday was not recent.
No, not recent at all, but I'm just
Unless
saying.
I missed it.
I could choose any movie, and I chose a Super Mario Brothers movie because, you know.
The last like
Why
3
not?
birthdays, we've ended up watching Batman and Robin or Batman Forever when I had birthday parties, back when you could do that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's so good. I put on Batman Forever last week, and I just couldn't stop watching. There's so much to digest.
I always put it on as background visuals, and then the party just devolves into everyone watching Batman Forever.
Knowing how angry Tommy Lee Jones is filming it adds
Oh,
Yes.
totally.
to
Yeah.
that's
But we're not here to talk about Batman.
Sorry, yeah.
Well, you could tell us what you love.
I was just gonna say I love that Jim Carrey tells a story where Tommy Lee Jones walked up to him and he's like, I just want you to know I don't approve of your buffoonery. Like
buffoonery.
so
Yep.
good.
Yep.
It's so
Buffoonery.
good.
Yeah.
What a thing to say. Why,
Yeah.
Tommy? What do you gain? What do you gain from that, Tommy?
Yeah, I just want to set this relationship off on the right foot.
On the right.
I don't approve of your buffoonery. Now, let's shoot a movie.
Yeah. Richard Nixon looking ass. All right. Well, yeah. Super Mario Bros. So I forgot about ExpressVPN, some erstwhile sponsor of the podcast. So I actually bought this DVD, and it got here in time for me. It's a blast. I love how the bottom of the DVD says, "This ain't no game. It's a live-action thrill ride." In case you weren't sure what it was you were getting yourself into. Sophia hadn't seen this before, and we were watching it together. I've seen this movie 5 or 6 times over the course of my life, I'm sure.
That's it?
And this is quite a film.
Yeah,
I love it.
Same, yeah.
It's crap.
You're saying you've seen it 5 times, and it's so wonderful, like, revisiting movies and games and things
Yeah.
with a fresh perspective, with different types of expectations, you know? As a kid, I remember being confused and a little frustrated. Like,
And aroused.
This isn't Mario. Like, I didn't hate it, but as a kid, I was like, this is not Mario. This is so weird.
Yeah.
Now, just knowing that, and at this point in my life, just going in for a little Bob Hoskins hype,
Love Bob Hoskins.
and just getting on the ride for what it is, I couldn't look away. I couldn't look away from this movie. I was so entertained the whole way through. And like you were saying, it's not great, but
Yeah.
my God, was I sucked in.
The thing I noticed this time that I hadn't ever noticed before was that I want to say, actually making an estimate here, I want to say like 85% of the lines are 80 yard. Like recorded after.
Yeah.
Like almost every line. And it's just like, why? What happened on set? Like,
Apparently it was really loud. So I'm actually I'm fairly obsessed with this movie because it's such a disaster.
AJ has the original book of storyboards for this movie.
It's
is
true.
incredible.
Do I pull them out now? We'll talk
Pull
about
it
this
out.
first. Pull it. All right.
Well, okay,
I feel like the
talk about
production
the thing first.
designer was actually the one running this movie.
So all right, well, I'll preface this story with, I was living in Hollywood, and I was walking down the
nightmare.
street to go get food, and I see this binder that's just open up, and it's a drawing of Bob Hoskins when he's going on the mattress down the down the tube, and I was like, I know that. What? And so I lean in closer, and someone clearly, there was a trash can right next to it, had just thrown this thing into the trash can and missed, and it was opened up on the ground. And there's this binder of storyboards from the movie that it's crazy. There's like handwritten notes and stuff in here. Like
Oh, man.
So these are copies. They're not the original storyboards, but
Okay.
there's a receipt in here from some country. I don't know. I can't tell what that. I mean, I don't know what country it's from. It's China or Japan or I'm not sure. But
The edge is on the side because of how old it is.
so
dude.
old and like worn, and there's like handwritten notes like art department 4992, and there's like stains and. But anyway, I saw that, was like, holy crap, threw it in a bush, went to go get food, and then came back, and I was like, I would like grab my roommate, and I was like, Susan, look what I found. That's
Why
like,
did you risk throwing it in a bush? Why didn't you just carry
I
it
knew
away?
no one was gonna. I was like, I'm about to go eat food. I don't want to take this like weird garbage.
Yeah, at that point it is garbage.
It's
This
yeah,
is
I
before
was-
the days of ubiquitous hand sanitizer, too, I suppose.
Yeah, just being everywhere. Now I want to find the page with the what's it called? Him on the map. But anyway, so this has just been in my collection. Wow. Very weird. Yeah, you can.
But you already had a special relationship with this movie before that.
I don't know if you can see any of that.
Oh
but
my
there's,
God.
Like Bob Hoskins and yeah.
Move it to your right. There you go.
so good.
So crazy.
The art is super cool.
Yeah.
It's really cool. So I posted this randomly on Facebook, and someone from it's like the Super Mario restoration team or something, like a super fandom, contacted me, and they were like, hey, how do we get our hands on these storyboards? And I was like, what do you want? And they were like, can you send them to us? And I was like, no, I'm not going to send them to you. These are mine. And they were like, we'll give you $50. Yeah, exactly. I was like, this is my trash. And they were like, we'll send you $50. And I was like, no, these are priceless. And they were like, would you scan them? And I was like, yes. So apparently they didn't have these. Like, no one that was restoring the movie or whatever that was doing the Blu-ray release had these storyboards. So there was like a ton of unseen things. So I got some kind of credit on the Blu-ray in England or something for
So cool. The
It's
special
so
features
random.
or something.
Yeah, there's like a special feature where it's like all the
Oh, yeah.
storyboards.
I wonder
I don't own a copy of that Blu-ray, so I don't know if that's true, but they told me they were going to give me a credit at the end of the segment.
Yeah, I'm curious because there's in preparation for this, I watched the 15 minutes of cut scenes from the theatrical version, and there's a part where they cut to a storyboard image because the practical effect doesn't exist for this shot. And I wonder if you, not going to ask you to do it now, but I would be curious after all this if you have that single storyboard image. It's of a guy who's supposed to be keeling over who's going to become primordial ooze after being de-evolved into primordial ooze. It's a cut scene right after Toad gets de-evolved down. So I'm curious, yeah.
Now I'm going to look through the book.
Don't do that. But
It's probably 1/3 of the way into the book.
Yeah, I mean, that Toad
Judging
gets
by the movie.
de-evolved. Yeah, about 1/3 in.
Wow.
But yeah, so that, and I remember seeing this movie in the theater as a kid. I was pretty young, and I remember like being so confused. I was like,
So
what?
weird.
It like made me feel bad and icky, and like I felt gross after watching it. And
I felt like they were doing a lot of cocaine when they made this movie. Not acid. Like they should have been doing acid or something, and they were just
well,
on.
I
there's
mean,
an amazing documentary by the gaming historian. Have you guys all seen this?
yeah, I haven't seen his, but yeah, go ahead. I know the history behind this film pretty well.
It's awesome. He's pretty
I have a guess.
comprehensive.
Can I?
Yeah.
Let me venture my guess
Sure.
to see how close I am. It seems to me that it was meant to be something else. Like Sophia thought maybe like a Brazil knockoff or something.
I don't know where this
And then
is.
they just painted Mario on top of it. Like a Die Hard 5 situation where they just like took a different or a
Retrofit.
Cloverfield.
They retrofitted
They just like
script.
took
So,
something else.
It was. I don't want to take up too much time with the history of this. It
Take
originally.
up all the
So
time.
originally, it was,
So much
originally
history.
supposed to be more of a fantasy setting that was more akin to the usual Mario mythos, but they wanted to go edgier because at the time a lot of darker adaptations of popular films. They wanted basically like they like the
Your
Batman,
Spawn
they like the
or
Blade
something.
Runner. They also like want to take inspiration from the Wizard of Oz. They also want to take inspiration from sorry, I said Blade Runner already, but they went in the opposite direction. Basically, they ended up with a new script that was basically almost read like a Mad Max parody. And Nintendo relinquished creative control for this film. They wanted no real say on creative control. People speculated why they agreed to those terms, but this was the one thing that had come back and said, this is no longer family friendly enough. That's our one stipulation. You can't, they went way too violent,
a lot of
way
guns.
too extreme, way worse than this. Like
Which
real
might
Mad
explain-
Max. Yeah.
Which might explain like all the sound effects and stuff, because they leaned into making it seem like a baby child movie to try to
There
I
is-
think course correct in post away from how dark and unsettling this movie is.
When they go into the bar, there's a shot of a girl in a thong, and you just see her bare ass.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm like, yo, if you're like an 8-year-old going to see a Super Mario Bros. Movie, like,
You're like, yes.
Yeah, that's how I felt.
parents
I was
are
If
like,
you're like
concerned,
me
you're
as a
like,
child.
yeah, that scene in particular is very sexually charged. The whole
Yeah.
necklace with
That
him grabbing her,
whole-
yeah, with her cleavage.
Well,
I was,
I mean-
as a kid, I was like, I
always
have
felt-
feelings. Question, teacher.
Yeah.
I felt very
I always
weird.
I always felt so sad for her. I think her name's
Yes,
like Big Bertha.
Big Bertha.
Yeah, it's Big Bertha,
When he
the Mario
when he
enemy.
takes the when
the
he takes
fish,
the
yeah.
necklace, the shot of her like looking around, so sad. I'm always
It's
just like,
heartbreaking.
even as a kid, I was like, no.
Stuff like that hit me
Then
so
she
hard
saves
as a
him.
kid.
Yeah.
Then she turns around and
the-
saves him.
the
I
redemption
don't know
there.
why.
Well, I don't know why either. It's not part of the cut.
He's just
a
a really
lengthy
good
cut.
dancer.
A lengthy cut sequence was from that part, and some people think it's either because it was like too much. You're showing too much ass in a family friendly film,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
we're already showing a lot. So maybe we should cut back. But I think it's cool. I'm just amazed this exists. That
Yeah.
something like this exists because the creation of this seemed like it was like a nightmare. Where we said where it went to Mad Max, they got one of the Bill and Ted writers to come in, tone it down a bit.
That makes sense, dude.
So
it feels like Bill and
yes.
Ted kind of.
They
except
wanted
like,
they wanted the sci-fi elements to come back in. Listen to this. Nintendo wanted Danny DeVito for Mario. But then
That would work.
the execs were like, no. Dustin Hoffman apparently approached the directors and like, I want this for my kids. And they're like, we don't want you, apparently. What?
That would've been
They
so
had Tom
weird.
Hanks
Crazy.
agree for $5 million, but then the execs said that's too expensive. And they went with Bob Hoskins. And like Bob Hoskins
Hoskins.
makes so much sense.
Yeah.
he's perfect.
Damiani, man. Like, knowing what I know about Nintendo now, it was blowing my mind that this movie exists. Like, I can't imagine that Nintendo nowadays making
No.
something like this.
This
It
might be
was-
why.
They wouldn't.
Yeah, it was
I mean,
just
this
so
is why. This is
grimy.
why
I
they
mean,
have.
you're
yeah.
exactly
Yeah.
right. It's, I mean, everyone's commenting this. I think it's well known. Hoskins hated doing this. Leguizamo hated doing this. John Leguizamo.
He came
They-
around.
they-
I did just read
Yes.
something, Damiani. He likes it now.
because
Leguizamo.
they've sorry, Bob Hoskins unfortunately has passed away, but John Leguizamo has said that he understands there's a cult following and doesn't want, is willing to put aside some of like the hardships he went through to make this film, even though he did in his autobiography say it sucked and he thought he sucked in it, but now he says it's not so bad, because
He's
a lot
not wrong.
of fans are into it. But you're right about the why this would never get made again, which is kind of like sad because one, they did tease a sequel, by the way, but also,
Oh, yeah.
They made a comic
Post-credits.
book sequel.
yes,
by
they
the way.
did. AJ is
They did?
absolutely right, dude.
Yeah.
What?
So Wart is a mad scientist from Peril Dimension who, with the downfall of Koopa, decides to invade Dino Haddon. And like Iggy, Spike, and Daisy are fighting a rebellion against them, and they need Mario and Luigi to come back and help fight against Wart.
Yeah, because I don't know if I saw it as a kid. I was like a MCU era now. I'm like, oh, anything after the credits? Post-credit scene where they're
best.
talking about the video game? It was like, yo, we want to make a game about you.
Wait, there's
And
a
it was-
literal post credits.
There
There's
is.
an
That's-
actual post-credit scene where
Iggy and
these
Spike.
Japanese people come and they want to
It's
make a video
Nintendo,
game
yeah.
based off of the exploits.
Oh,
and
I've seen- yeah.
And the camera pans and it's Iggy and Spike.
It's like the shawarma scene from End of Avengers, like that.
had no
Yeah, it's
idea.
like it's like wait, what?
That's
Because you think it's
crazy.
gonna be something, and it's like not. It's just it's sad that nothing will ever come like this again because Reggie Fils-Aimé didn't like the most recent interview before Reggie Fils-Aimé left Nintendo said he absolutely believes the film was so poorly received because Nintendo relinquished creative control that it would have turned out much better if Nintendo had control, and the people at Illumination who are working on the CG Mario movie also agree with that sentiment, which is why Shigeru Miyamoto is a co-creative director and has creative input on the upcoming film. And apparently Fils-Aimé said that this film had a lasting image problem for Nintendo with developers going through the next decade, through the GameCube era. So apparently developers said
Sega Genesis vibes for sure.
Well, it's like Nintendo, you can't do cool and edgy. You only succeed when you're kid friendly. Your system's for kids, your games are for kids. Like that pervaded a lot of developers, Western developers, after this film. Apparently,
dude,
well, it's worth it. Because
this is worth it.
I feel like this movie exists in one of those time loops where, like, you know how there's the Nicolas Cage Superman where Tim Burton was going to direct that This is one of those, and it made it through. Like, there's, it's exactly one of those things that we go, man, could you imagine if they made that? And they did, and it's as insane and sort of like grossly delicious as you could possibly want.
It fell through with us from the Berenstein Bears universe.
Oh, I love that.
Exactly.
That's so great. That is so great.
There's something about like just generally looking at this movie. Like we watched. There's so many movies that come out now where I'm like, all right, you tried, and there's things about this movie that I weirdly think are better than a lot of modern movies that people like really enjoy. There's a lot of like setup and payoff and character development and like some pretty okay paced things compared to modern stuff in a way that is bizarre. I can see why it
paced pretty well.
Yeah, like obviously this movie comes out next to like Die Hard or something. You're like, oh, it's garbage. But like compared to some of the stuff that comes out now, like if this movie came out today and maybe didn't have Mario Brothers in the title, you'd be like, that was funky. Like that could be like a double feature with Dread or something. Like,
yes, dude. Yeah,
it's so weird. But
that's the
Mega City one, dude.
That's probably the number one greatest feature about this movie is like how big a swing it takes. Like it just goes for it.
Yeah.
And like it's so funny knowing the games and just seeing how weird things got, like the fungus thing, like being
so
a sentient
disturbing.
being that's like giving them bombs and stuff
Lance
throughout.
Henriksen out of nowhere.
Dude, yes.
That was the king?
Yeah, that's the king. And that's why it's called the Mushroom King. Like they have
That's why it's called the mushroom.
Yeah,
But it's like
that.
a joke that they say, like it's an thrown off.
Yeah, Koopa
line?
says like your Mushroom Kingdom. I was like, oh my gosh, this is
It's like a joke line.
The lines in this movie, like they like, I think it's the delivery. The actors actually like could deliver the material. I think this, whether they thought it was horrible enough on screen, they look like they're having a great time.
Yeah.
At least to me, it did. Yeah.
Honestly, there was one.
They weren't.
I know they were.
Especially Bob Hoskins.
Yeah.
Dude, Bob Hoskins. There was one moment where I thought it really could have tipped this movie over the edge. I don't think there could have been a payoff with the flower, the mushroom at the end. Bob Hoskins gets a mushroom. And now I'm drawing a
You
blank.
forgot how he used it? He
shoots
used
the
it
gun
as
at
a
it.
shield. He deflects
The
the
shield,
the portable
yeah.
Devo, the Super Scope 6. Yeah.
Which makes no sense.
I was
but-
like, dude, he should have shot a fireball out or somehow become invincible. I was like, that could have been another.
Yeah.
That could have been a really sick video game.
He could have gotten
right
big,
there.
Eats it and then suddenly shoots fireballs
That
or
was
something.
definitely a missed opportunity. Now you
Yeah.
pointed out, Huber, for sure.
That was the only time where I was like, Everything else, I was like, let's go.
Yeah. I also, one thing that just destroyed me as a kid was Yoshi getting stabbed.
Oh my god,
is-
yeah.
I was
by
like,
Lena. Yeah.
yeah, it's insane. There's this sweet little animatronic that I'm like, okay, that's not Yoshi the way I think of him, but he's Yoshi, he's cute. And then him just getting stabbed in the neck and be like, ah, is so depressing.
Yeah, Mario punches Yoshi in the back of the head, and in this movie they stab him. So it's like,
yeah, perfect. There's actually a campaign online somewhere. I think it's the Super Mario fandom to restore the Yoshi animatronic. Someone found it and is did an Indiegogo or something. Or I don't know if it's been funded or whatever, but just to restore it, and it's costing $20,000 or something.
I love how relics of this movie are just washing ashore.
Dude, treasure trove.
It's very weird. Yeah.
Being honored to own a piece of this movie, one of the props or something like that.
I also like, AJ, that you've just talked about the fandom now numerous times. There is a legit following of this movie that I was not aware of.
There's
like, legit cult classic. Like,
it's great.
in every
I
sense
mean,
of the word.
watching it now and seeing it, like it's something we saw as like children for most of us, and then to go back and watch it is such a supremely odd experience that I feel like it affects you. Like I remember in college, they had it in the film library that we had, and I like burned a copy because I was a pirate, and and
As were we all
were, and I showed it to my friends, and they were like, "What?" Like some of them hadn't seen it, and it like deeply affected all of us. So I wound up. So if you follow, I don't remember what it's called, but it's like SMB fandom, like Super Mario Brothers fandom or something on Twitter. They're like the big fandom. It doesn't matter what you say about the movie. If you're like, this is the trashiest piece of crap movie in the world, they'll retweet it and be like, awesome. Like which is what I love about them. Is like they're just so game. Like as long as the movie's being mentioned, they're thrilled to see it and they'll retweet it. And I think that's exactly hits the right note of why people like this movie.
It's so
like
funny
it's trash and I love it.
Well, it feels like. Because I didn't get in on the ground floor, and Damiani, I think you mentioned Wizard of Oz. Like, it feels like Return to Oz in a lot of ways, and I saw that as an adult for the first time.
Not as a kid?
No, you're right. And so I imagine, like,
lucky.
the situation must be similar to people who never saw this until they were adults, because it is deeply weird.
Yeah. Return
And,
to
like,
Oz is it is of this ilk in a way.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Or like the Crash Dummy toys. Do you guys remember that from the 90s?
I do.
Yeah.
Where like you sort of felt
Cartoon,
grotesque about it,
They
but
had
they
a
were
cartoon.
appealing.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about this movie. Is they're of that era where it's like this is gross. I kind of
Well, and
like
also,
it.
like, this movie does the, like, quintessential, like, C plus B minus 90s movie stuff. Like, it ticks all the boxes. Like,
yeah.
the plot largely hinges on coincidence. People are just suddenly in the same place together, impossibly. People are always like, I don't know if this happens in Hook, but it feels very Hook to me, where it's like, people are always doing something super dangerous that could easily kill them, but the character is going like, wahoo, or something like, yeah. And it's just like, you wouldn't be doing that. Like, the whole thread, like, with Luigi's, like, intuition in this movie that kind of just fizzles out. It's so weird. Like, everything about this movie is so just
Damiani,
90s and weird.
Is there any precedent for the, like... By the way, were religious people pissed about this movie? Because it's all about, like, evolution. Like, humans
I
think of it
came
such
from
a
monkeys.
joke. Yeah.
Probably.
Maybe. I mean,
Evolution's
it's like,
kind of the
I don't know
enemy.
enough of them saw this film. It's probably.
But is there any precedent for, like, the whole, like, dinosaur storyline with the Mushroom Kingdom, Damiani? That's 100% fully in the movies.
There's dinosaurs.
I mean,
in
so
the
here's the funny
world.
thing.
Yoshi's a dinosaur.
Yeah, there's obviously like that stuff, but like apparently the elevator pitch for this to the Japanese executives at Nintendo, like Yamauchi back in the day, and you know that guy, knowing him hearing this pitch, was when you sit at your dinner table, did you ever wonder where your food came from in the pecking order of the food chain? That was the like pitch for this film, was about who's the highest in the pecking order. What if humans weren't? What if dinosaurs were? I was like, what?
I mean, that's kind of still there.
And it's like, okay, that's not Mario whatsoever, but that sounds amazing. But I can't believe Nintendo went for that. But
It's crazy. And it would have made more sense if they were dinosaurs, like the show Dinosaur,
Yeah.
you know, like where it's like, oh, okay, it's a world full of dinosaur people, but it's just
Yeah.
humans with greasy hair and tongues. Like, it
But,
doesn't,
like,
it doesn't add up.
well,
It seems like they can, or at least Dennis Hopper can, because he gets, like, partially
yeah.
super evolved, but, like, they can stretch their tongue and do, like, weird, and they have, like, weird eyes and stuff. It's weird.
Yeah, 'cause they're
Momentarily.
evolved from the dinosaur.
Yeah.
I mean, this film also, for as much as I think it gets flack for being so crazy, weird, and different from Mario, it actually has a lot of like good tropes in there. And I think some of the stuff actually, at least to me, carried over through the games. I mean, I like the dynamic between Mario and Luigi. Like, Mario is the older brother, he is the protector. I love how they're
brother
like
slash father. Though,
Except,
too. It's
yeah,
like
they're
a
not
brother
actually
father.
related. They're not actually related in this?
No, they are. So
No,
they-
he took him in. He, like, found him as an orphan.
No. So Luigi says that Mario had to raise him because he never knew his father, because apparently it's not stated, but I assumed his father died because their father's not alive. So I'm guessing Luigi was too young to know his father, but Mario knew his father because Mario says all his trademark quips about tools came from his father, who learned that from his father, from their grandfather. And he tells Luigi, he goes, "Oh, I learned it from our dad, and who learned it from his dad."
I thought Luigi said that Mario took him in as a kid and raised him.
I don't think he said took him in. I think he said he had to be his father.
Well, either way, it doesn't matter. But yeah, their relationship is
Mario.
very cute. Yeah, Mario and Luigi Mario.
And that's like, I love that. Like, it's like a who's on first, what's on second type bit. Into there. And Luigi's just is like this awkward, charming person, and like that's who he is now in the games. Like Luigi is before this game, Luigi wasn't really like this. I mean, maybe in the cartoon show, but it's this like endearing quality about Luigi, and I kind of liked it. I kind of liked how Luigi took the starring role a little bit from Mario. Like they had like equal time, because I was worried as a kid, like, oh, this is gonna be Mario. What's Luigi gonna do? And it's like, oh, Luigi's the cool one. Oh, Luigi gets to do all the action. This is cool.
Yeah. Well, and I really like Daisy in this. Like, I remember even as a little kid, I always looked up to her. Like, I thought she was really cool. And
I
like
had a huge crush on her. Samantha
of
Mathis
course,
is
absolutely.
So, as a little kid, I was like, "What is that?" Like,
Yeah. She's
Samantha
incredible.
Isn't it Mathis?
Mathis,
I
sorry.
think it's Mathis.
Yeah,
I say Davis, yeah, sorry.
But I also liked Mario's little partnership with his girlfriend,
Which is nobody, right? They're not
which
hinting
is-
at the
that's
fact
not
that like.
Peach.
No, but that's
I
what-
thought
that's
he
what-
was gonna like.
that's
as-
what it was funny because
Sequel.
watching it with Sophia, she'd never seen it, and like they had already said Daisy, and then she was like, "Oh, okay, so Mario's with Peach," and I was like, "I think so," and then
doesn't
like
even
later on
call
they say her
her.
name is Daniela.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
It was just
He
like,
should have been
oh.
like, "You're my little peach, sweetheart."
Yeah,
or
right.
something
I was
like
waiting
that's
for
what
that.
I was expecting.
You're my princess Peach.
You're my peach.
But I mean, like they have this nice little relationship where they're just like solid, and like they help each other out, and like I don't know, I like it.
Yeah, they
It's
have
very
like like I love how they have like the bomb where like he's like lipping words to her through like the meshing and the stuff, and she can like understand. And then like the Brooklyn girl is like, Mario. It's like,
Yeah, she's from Queens, but she's
Or
alright.
she's from Queens, yeah, she's okay. Dude, the quotes,
I love
Huber.
it.
The one I love the most
So
was
many good
the
ones.
beginning. He goes when she says, Dave says, "There's I'm digging dinosaurs," and Luigi's like, "Whoa, yo, there used to be dinosaurs here," and like Mario's like, "Don't get too excited. There used to be Dodgers here too."
Dude, yes.
I thought of you, Huber, for that
Yeah.
line. I was like,
I clapped.
the
I was like,
baseball reference.
The
So many weird
the other
shots.
characters like Toad.
Toad
the
is what I was
the
gonna say.
Yeah, Toad is so
Why?
dear. He's just so sweet.
Yeah.
And I
it's
remember
so
even as a
weird.
kid, it's very, very weird, and also just like so creepy but so endearing. But also it bothered me this time too. But I remember it bothering me as a kid. They don't show him getting re-evolved at the end, even though they easily could do it. It seems like they're just gonna leave them all as Goombas.
Yeah, and it's weird because, as we already said, the king transforms at the end, which I guess is
For no
it's
reason.
for no reason.
For no
other than them
reason.
maybe trying to be a nod to Super Mario Bros. 3. It's
Plot
like when you
convenience.
defeat the Koopa, the kings transform back. But yeah, at the same time, it's like, wait, he didn't get evolved again. So wait, what? And why are the Goombas
I
still
am-
back? Yeah.
I implanted a false memory of a scene where they re-evolved the king
Oh.
while I was watching this because I was waiting for that scene, and then he just fucking turns back, and I was like, oh, what?
Yeah, he gets like
They've
pooped out of
Yeah,
the.
they
of
just
the
don't care.
fungus.
Like they're just
Yeah.
like this movie. They're just like, yeah, whatever, man. It's fine. Like,
Two things I like genuinely love about this movie are I love the design of the Goombas, even though you
So
can't point to
weird.
anything in the video game that reminds you of them, but like they're so cool. Like
It's
as a
kinda like
kid,
the
I
inverse, AJ, where it's like
Yeah,
big bodies,
tiny
big,
head and- yeah.
tiny head or whatever.
I
that's
think
totally
it's just
true.
the head is supposed to look like a Goomba, but they were like, well, how are we gonna have these
Yeah.
things walking around?
it cracks me up. Like they're little like like their faces and their
Well,
when
some
they're
of them are
dancing in
just
the
lizards.
Lizards,
elevator.
because like, I guess they forgot. Like, wait, some are mushroom or fungus, some are evolved from dino. Like,
It's-
which do we
it's-
pick?
It's great. They're so fun. And then the Bob-omb. I love the little
Oh my
Bob-omb.
God.
God,
incredible.
everyone
Right
being
now.
so freaked out by
They're all
this tiny little
terrifying.
wind-up bomb. It's a bomb!
That's great. Like that's a good joke that they'd be so scared of it.
awesome.
Like it's
And
so
the Babam is like sentient. It walks until it
Yeah.
is in the exact right place
Even
it goes up
Koopa is
walls
intimidated.
and
with its
yeah.
Reebok
Yeah.
shoes.
Yeah, like
Koopa's
that was
terrified.
that is an actual example of funny, good product placement. I was like,
Yeah.
It's the great equalizer.
There's moments, man. Although, so the directors they created Max Headroom, right? That's what
Oh,
they-
Yes,
that
yes.
I think
makes
that's
sense.
what the
Yes,
press, what
yes.
preceded this, and so you can see that kind of like gritty, makes you uncomfortable. Like when you
Yeah.
watch Max Headroom, you're like, I like this and I don't feel right. Like it's that uncanny valley thing, and that whole movie feels like the uncanny valley version of a story. Like you're
Yeah.
watching it going, this is a story, but I don't really understand why. It's just it's a nightmare version of what you expect a 90s
Well,
action movie to be, and I love
And
it.
like we talked about how all the lines are ADR'd, like, which means automatic dialogue replacement. It's like when you record the lines later, and redub them over it. So it's like most of this movie is a dub, and like you're totally right though. The whole plot has that feeling too. It feels like the writing was somehow like ADR'd on top of the
Well, I
movie.
mean,
Yeah.
as we said,
Nothing makes any
it went
sense.
through it was already weeks into shooting, and they were still doing rewrites. And for whatever reason, the executives prohibited the director team from interacting with the Bill and Ted writers for some reason, because there was a lot of people. Most of the crew and actors didn't get along with the directors, so there was some animosity there. And I think to keep cool heads prevailed, they kept them separated. So, but it also affected production. Like that's why the special effects version, like special effects, took forever to get done because they went with the slower editing process. I don't know what it's called. So they want to edit digitally or something, but they went with I don't know what it's called. I'd have to look it up.
They'd have to do a digital intermediate, like a DI.
But
I mean, that's what film always has to do. So I don't know.
They did it some other method that took forever. So the CG version, the one with effects to be screened by the higher ups, took longer. They felt it was over budget. You know, it went like people were there longer than they needed to be. So I can understand how like it got burnt out and people just got angry at each other. But despite that, though, I will say, like, I do think they did manage to set up things that pay off pretty nicely. Like, I love, you were talking about, like, things you love, AJ, and memorable
Right.
scenes. The elevator scene with the Goombas. Luigi getting him to
good.
dance
So
to the
good.
music is,
Yeah.
like, probably, like, my favorite part of that movie.
Totally.
But it also pays off later because with Toad plays the harmonica after picking up on that to distract them when they're about to blast Mario on the bridge. It's like, wait, I saw that. They like to dance.
Yeah.
Like, and then there's a call on the
Yeah.
intercom,
There's
like,
a throwaway
Goomba,
line,
they're
yeah.
dancing again.
They're dancing.
Stuff like that is, why we like movies, is we love to see, like, we as humans love setup and payoff, and so it's a weird thing that's missing from a lot of modern movies that, like why Paddington, if you guys have seen Paddington, is so wonderful.
Paddington 2
is
is a perfect movie.
It's perfect. Paddington 1 and 2 are brilliant, and it's because, like, oh, the dad's learning how to play tennis or whatever, and then in the end he, like, saves the day with, like, the most minute thing pays off in a way that makes you go, oh, that's delightful, that's cool. And this movie does have that, weirdly. It's strange, because there's certain rules that they do follow, despite the fact that, you know, you're talking about the production and what a nightmare it is, and the gaming historian documentary about it, and some interviews with John Leguizamo, like, they talk about it's so much more of a nightmare than you can imagine. Like, just hearing, oh, it was bad. Like, Bob Hoskins broke his hand at some point because John Leguizamo like shut the door on it or whatever. And he's wearing a cast that's painted tan through a lot of the film, so you can like see it. Yeah, you can see it in certain scenes where he's got this cast. And like, but apparently like constantly was arguing with the directors and drunk, and like it's really something. Like the history of this, and they also, maybe part of the reason that was so heavily ADR'd is they're shooting in like a swampy abandoned cement factory in North Carolina, in like Wilmington, North Carolina or something, and apparently it was just awful. Like you weren't supposed to shoot there, so. And it's also why it feels like such a small little city. They were shooting in this tiny little set that was just a factory that probably had horrible sound, you know? And there's all the effects and noise and smoke and sparks and shit. It probably sounded awful in there. Yeah.
Humid, too.
It just, from everything again, the gaming historian documentary is awesome because he highlights different actors being like, it's the worst experience of my life. Like, it's
I always
really
get
incredible.
frustrated at actors specifically when they talk about doing a role because of the location it's shot in. Like, yeah, I took the role, you know, it's so great just like being out in the Caribbean
Hawaii,
for the month shoot. You know, it's just so delightful with it's like, dude.
I mean, your Adam Sandlers of the world, like, they write scripts specifically for that reason, like to go and be in Hawaii for a month.
What was
their
his excuse
friends.
for Hubie Halloween?
I haven't seen it, but I drive by
have
a
seen
billboard of it all the
and
time.
I was just like, I do this all the time to Erica, my girlfriend, who I'm just gonna put on the dumbest thing I can find, and I put on Hubie Halloween, and within like 5 minutes, I was laughing so hard, and I was hating myself. I was like, I should not find this as like. At some point, he's driving his bicycle, and he's just like, I'm gonna go get candy, and he turns his head and just like vomits, like horribly intense, and it destroyed me.
No reason.
It comes out of nowhere. It's just like, bah! And it's the movie's out of its mind. Anyway,
I mean, he did say if he didn't win an Oscar for Uncut Gems or get nominated, that he would make the dumbest, worst movie ever conceived.
Honestly, it's up there. It's really, really up there. It's a very dumb movie. There's nothing redeeming about it, unlike Mario Brothers, which is a perfect film.
I'm curious how people thought this was dumb or maybe a clever way of handling some of the Mario mythos, but they call them, I think, stompers. The way they jump so high.
Oh, yeah.
You put like the bonsai bullet bill in there as a cartridge, and then you like
the bullet bill, dude.
I like that. In fact,
the club was named Thwomp, right?
Well, there's a brand called Thwomp, I think, because the boots also said Thwomp on them, I think, too.
Right. Yeah.
This made me want a game that we learn the origin of how Mario learns to jump high. Like the game is Mario can't jump, and then like all of a sudden he like learns that ability, like stuff like that. Because later on,
Mario Metroidvania.
Mario even says, "Oh, one sec about that, Ian." Mario says later though, he's afraid of heights. And it's like Mario, this platforming master in the video games, says this line about I hate heights.
Oh yeah, when he goes into the portal. When he's in the portal, he's like afraid to go across. Yeah.
I was like, I love that.
We all
what about the Metroidvania?
Oh,
what are you talking about?
we were waiting for the Metroidvania.
Koopa Tower. So the first time I saw Koopa Tower, so I rewatched this yesterday. I've seen this movie a lot, but I rewatched it yesterday because I just wanted to I gotta watch it one more time. And the scene where they show Koopa Towers, like the Twin Tower clones, I'm looking at it, and I'm like, you know what? And they're like, how are we going to get up there? And I'm like, you know what? What if they made a seamless, giant, 100-floor-foot building Mario game where your goal is to get to the top, but like you can't just go up.
Beach trees.
And it's like Metroidvania layout where like some areas are like, oh, it's cool here, so you need the fire flower to melt stuff to get through here, or you need the higher jump boots, the stompers here, the thwomps to go a little bit higher. I was like, okay. I was like, this movie's inspiring. That's what I'm trying to say.
But it's Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo as Mario and Luigi.
They end up making a Mario Metroidvania, and they're like, we were watching the movie, and it just gave us this idea.
We thought of Dread and this, and we said, let's put that together.
I mean, hey, the going through the rock you said at the beginning, like the effect they do at the end with the stone when she's like zapping it. It looks like when they jump through the painting in Mario 64. I'm like, yo, did they just get that idea from here? Did they just lift
that
it?
Wobbly, yeah.
Well, that liquid rock effect was like huge in the 90s because it was like, here's something we can do. It's like the thing.
Yeah, that's man, I would love to have had a video game like the Street Fighter, the game based on the movie, based on the game would have been the Mario version of that would have been amazing. But it all probably would have been big. Like screen captures of people, like come on, Luigi, like just jumping around. And
did Ratchet and Clank do that? Where they're like Ratchet and Clank, the movie, the game? Oh, okay.
Is that the reboot that I'm currently playing?
Yeah, the movies.
I started playing the one that was free, and I've never played a Ratchet and Clank game.
There you go, Huber. Real quick, this makes me a little bit anxious about the upcoming Mario movie because it might be so expected and plain and boring compared to that.
The Ratchet and Clank movie, it should have been cool, but it was just like the game has cutscenes like from the movie.
Oh,
so the movie just feels like you're watching the game.
Boring.
Like it's just boring. It's just boring. It's like the whole time I'm like, let me just play. Whereas this movie is nothing like the game, so I'm like, I can't play this. What even is this? I can't look away.
Can you imagine a mini game where you've got to take your teeth and go between that woman's cleavage and grab the the crystal?
And that led to the ESRB.
Well, the weird thing is that I just thought of that's kind of ironic is Detective Pikachu kind of has similar like Blade Runner-y more adult vibes.
And the Sonic movie was cool.
I think that the Detective Pikachu is a successful movie, and I mean that's Pokemon Company and kind of Nintendo too. But like, it's funny that like this basically tried to do what Detective Pikachu succeeded in doing, not pissing off Nintendo.
Yeah.
I think Sonic was a huge win. I mean, who the
I
hell
still haven't
expected
seen it.
Dude, who the hell
Sonic's
expected
fun.
Sonic to be
I gotta
even
see it,
half
yeah.
enjoyable as it was? It was great. And I love how they remodeled the character after the backlash, so they were like, yo, okay, we're listening.
He looked like a freak.
Yeah, he looks like a freak.
Yeah, that just looked
But
wrong.
That movie turned
or-
out just a fun time.
Yeah.
Whereas like
I feel
in
Go ahead.
Mario about looks, even as a kid, I was like, when are they gonna look like Mario and Luigi? When are they gonna look like Mario and Luigi? Like the outfit, they don't get that till the final act.
Yeah,
It's
right.
like it's like
And it's just random.
yeah. And I was like, that's still kind of cool. It's like you don't like playing with your expectations like that was kind of nice.
Well, what's weird is that Mario and Luigi are like color swapped for the first like act and a half. Like Mario is wearing a greenish brown jacket with the red lapel or whatever collar, but Luigi has a red coat on for like half of this movie. It was weird.
they didn't care. They're just
They
like,
did-
we're
they
making a movie.
They're making a movie.
Occasionally we'll be like, thwomp, you know,
Yeah.
and we'll be like, hooray! It's such a, yeah, I would love to see, like, to just be in the room where they're like, all right, there's a character, he's got a harmonica, and it'd be like, just pull a name from the thing, and all right, he's Toad. Sure, Toad. Like,
Right.
there's so many things about it that are so far removed from the, like, just Koopa as Koopa and not being Bowser, or I don't know. It's just such a
Because he was originally
confusing-
called Koopa.
King. Yeah, they call him King.
Oh,
Koopa
that's right.
twice, and
Back
that's the
in the day.
Japanese name.
Right,
for
right.
him,
Okay, that
yeah.
makes sense.
But
But,
like,
like-
what I love about, or sorry, what were you gonna say?
Just his whole mud obsession.
Yeah.
It's like mud,
It's
mud is
clean and dirty at the same
time. And Lena, who's just like
Just-
Mrs. Dursley, just being this weird,
Yeah.
sexy concubine, just that's there, just being
There's
Nothing to do
Cool
with Mario.
There's some weirdness
Great
in that
death.
movie
Great
though,
death.
about that.
Skeleton
Yeah.
on the wall.
They have
Classic.
her and her dying like that. It's like
like so
the
weird.
scene with Koopa and Daisy, and then the Scapelli and Daisy scene is just like creepy, makes your skin want to crawl. It's just like the dialogue between Koopa and her is like every little girl remembers her first. I was like, what the hell? Who wrote
Yeah.
It's like who wrote
When they
this?
like
Some
abduct her and
Yeah,
shit, I was
dude.
like, this is so dark, dude.
There's some thermonuclear 90s
Yeah.
like problematic treatment of women in this movie.
Yeah, it's
And yet
rough.
other like the female characters are like, all like
Daisy
pretty
was great. She was
strong
great.
and interesting too. So it's kind of like a weird dichotomy that this movie has. But Koopa, I want to talk about Koopa and like
Sure.
the themes. I mean, I think it seems to me that he may have been modeled after He Who Shall Not Be Named even back then.
Yeah.
But like
Definitely the posters and like
and like, but like there is this kind of thread of like fascism throughout. Like once Iggy and Spike get smart, they like call him a fascist dictator
that.
and they want to
Right,
overthrow him and stuff.
That was great.
And you're right, Ian. Sorry, did you have more to that? Because I was. Gonna,
Oh, no,
like,
I was just
gonna
saying,
give you
like,
some. One of the
Dennis Hopper
one
is
of the,
just a bonkers, and his hair is disgusting.
his
So
hair's-
gross.
Yeah. One of the
Yeah.
biggest deleted cut threads was about Iggy and Spike. They have a whole like roughly 8 minutes of dialogue scenes and
Check
exposition
those storyboards.
that are removed that give them more development about the political environment in Dino
It
Haddon.
does kind of just come out of nowhere, yeah.
Yeah, so like when they're riding the dump truck back after they're sneaking back in, or Luigi asks, "What's up with all the posters? Why is it Koopa the X, Koopa the environmentalist, Koopa the sentimental, Koopa the whatever?" And they're like, "Oh, because it's all the Koopas who run and like vote for Koopa. You got to vote for which Koopa you like." And he's like, "Wait, so only if you run as Koopa?" And he's like, "What do you call that when only Koopa can run?" And like Iggy's reply is democracy. I was like,
Really funny.
which they're
So
going into the club later,
weird.
the Thwomp Club and stuff. Iggy and Spike are pleading with Mario and Luigi, "Can you help us overthrow Koopa to save our world?" And Mario's like, "It's your world. You need to do something about it to change it." Which leads to them brainstorming into a cut scene. I watched it. I cannot believe they deleted this. It's amazing. I forget which of the actors it is, was the original drummer for Soundgarden. And
Okay.
the two of them came up with an impromptu rap that is filmed, and you can watch on YouTube right now. They rap about the downfall of Koopa on stage before the Goombas and Lena get there, and the Goombas arrest them for doing the anti-Koopa, which is why later Lena says, "Oh, your cousins, you should have seen them. They were singing about your downfall at the club." That's where it came from.
I thought she was being metaphorical.
Yeah, but like they have this whole thing where they're helping to lead. They're more visibly spearheading a rebellion to a deleted cut. Their final scene was like them brainstorming what they should do next. Like, what should we do? We need new jobs. What should we do next? And they look back at a poster. It's like it's implied they might want to start taking over and like reform Dino Haddon. It's like that they were sympathizers. That the line about them being loyal supporters of Daisy and her king wasn't just them being like, we just want to save her skin. They were legitimately being honest, apparently.
Wow.
What a weird way to do that, though. Like,
know.
I appreciate the intention, but it's like the most ham-fisted way to be like, let's rap about. And I have seen that scene. I forgot. I sort of blocked it from memory because it's really awkward.
Yeah.
And like, it's just. They're also like really hard to look at. Like their design, they're so slimy and so gross, and that I just anytime they're on screen, I'm like, ugh. It's so.
I do appreciate their total lack of self-awareness, and like when they walk fully clothed into the mud bath and stuff. It's just like these two are so dumb. They just don't
So
care
weird.
about
I would
themselves
love if this
at all.
wasn't Mario. Like, I think that if this wasn't Mario, we'd be having parties like themed to this movie. We'd be like, yeah, it's like, like there's something so the universe is so complete. Like in its own weird, messed up way, it is its own special place. But because it's tied to something so beloved, we hate it. Like it's like this is a weird example, but like if the Eddie Murphy Haunted Mansion movie came out and wasn't tied to the Haunted Mansion, we'd be like, that was cute.
Yeah,
like,
all right.
what the hell was that about? Like, that was really fun and weird, but because it's tied to the Haunted Mansion, you're like, what garbage?
I think chances are equally good though that no one would have seen it unless because as a kid I was like, oh, Mario, like check it out.
Oh, totally.
And
Yeah.
I was a kid, so I just kind of accepted what was happening. I was like, so this is what it's like for Mario. Wow, this is crazy.
This
like,
is rough, man.
This is rough, Mario,
Yeah.
dude.
That's kind of ironic because the director, I think the husband director, because they're a husband-wife duo, I believe.
right.
Oh, really?
I think so. That's
something
why.
Jenkel,
At least,
yeah.
sorry, Dennis Hopper described it as that. May not have actually been that. I might have that wrong, but
No, they were a
apparently-
husband and wife team. That's true.
Okay.
Yeah.
Apparently, he said their interpretation was that this movie is the actual events of Super Mario Brothers. This is what really happened, and that the video games are Japan's interpretation of the events, like handed down orally over thousands of years. It's become warped, and now that's the video game version. I was like, what?
Thousands of years.
That
The
is
idea- so
weird.
It takes place in modern Manhattan and has
Yeah.
been passed down.
Yeah.
That like,
I was like, what?
yeah, it's like nightmare logic. Like you're having a dream and it's like, hi, we've met before, and you're like, yes, we have. You're just
Yeah.
kind of sucked into this alternate reality where you go, okay, yeah, sure, I guess I'll go along with that nonsense. Like, it's so insane. It's such a weird, beautiful, weird movie. But I don't know. I love it. I want to like go look on eBay for like weird action figures and promo things to see what
there's
existed.
like I didn't know that existed, AJ. Like I was seeing some videos. There's like merch and stuff from
Tons
back
of
then. I
merch.
didn't know. Even as a kid,
Yeah.
I didn't see that stuff.
As a kid, I remember one of my friends got the Mario action figure in like for his birthday, and I didn't know it existed. And I was like, "Oh, they made action figures for the movie!" And like, I really wanted it, and I never got one, but it blew my mind that existed.
Well, I know what to
Man, I
get
had
you
like
for
a-
7-Eleven next year.
This
Sorry, yeah,
Mario,
Slurpee
doll
Day.
That was like this big. I don't know where it is though.
Really?
Pretty
Like
big.
oh
From
my
this
God.
movie?
No, but it was like
Oh.
Super Mario.
Oh, then
this-
no one cares, Huber.
yeah.
Probably
So
the
this is a
one from the
completely
Star
irrelevant
Fighter.
comment,
Yeah,
Hubert.
Hubert, come on now. Know your Nintendo lore.
Put your life together,
Though,
man.
I will say, I would much prefer if Super Nintendo World would make a ride of the mattress ride
Oh,
part of
God.
this.
Oh my
that,
God,
That would
yes.
be way more interesting to me than anything they're doing.
And every,
And
like,
there's a bunch of
like-
Goombas behind you, like chasing you, like animatronic
it's all
Goombas.
practical
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
too.
Oh,
And there's like
great.
every like 1 in 100 carts is just a Goomba that you ride on. Like it's a big a dude in the talking head suit that you're just like on the back of.
That's so
In
great.
a perfect world, they would have a planet you go to in Mario that's like throwback galaxy style, but like you go and there's like movie
God, that'd be awesome.
references or nods. Toad
Japan
as,
will
like, a
they will never
harmonica.
acknowledge they will never acknowledge this movie.
DLC for New Donk City just becomes Dino Hat, and there you go.
I would love
Dino.
that.
Scapelli
I would want to
takes
leave
over.
as soon as I could, but it's kind of like, this is a weird example, but like the Alice in Wonderland in Kingdom Hearts 1 is one of the most uncomfortable levels in the history of games for me. Like it's so surreal and wrong, and like I feel like I'm in a cardboard box that's been painted. I feel like that's what the Dino Hatton would be like. You're just like, get me out of here. I'm like, it sounds nice. And then when you're there, you're like, ah.
It's really weird. I mean, you're fully right, but also at the same time, I do feel like these movies. There's like a core group of like 4 or 5 movies for me personally that like made me who I am and like modeled like human beings to me. And it's this movie. It's the original Buffy the Vampire Slayer movie. It's Goonies. It's Labyrinth, and it's Jurassic Park. And it's like.
This
Mario's
explains a
in
lot.
there.
The mixture of those 5 movies or whatever, it made me who I am today, and I don't know how to feel about that. And maybe like
Yeah.
Mad Max, but it's just like
You're a
the
Terry
fact that-
Gilliam creation now, basically.
yeah. I'm
You're-
like I'm like Act 2 of Brazil, the person.
Wow.
But I mean, like, I don't know, Daisy was like super cool to me as a kid, and so like I don't know, I really like this movie.
It's funny. It is a formidable movie, or formative movie for me, as in a weird way. Where I remember, I don't remember going to the theater as a kid, but I specifically remember I was at Universal Studios, like we were in Florida, and we were at one of the theaters there, and I remember seeing a giant cutout for the movie as we were walking in, being like, "Wow!" Like we got popcorn, and we were going to the theater, and I was like, "I'm gonna see the Mario movie," with like zero context for what that was, because
Yeah.
in the 90s you were lucky you saw one trailer on TV or something. And I just remember going alone with my dad and like leaving like, what like I couldn't. I liked it because I wasn't even like, there wasn't any binary choice for me when I watched a movie. It was just, you liked it. There was no bad movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Movies couldn't be bad.
Oh,
Literally, the
interesting.
first time I ever experienced feeling that a movie was bad was the Tomb Raider movie. Speaking of video game movies, I've never felt
The
that
Angelina
before.
Jolie
Newest
one?
one or Angelina?
No, the Angelina Jolie one. As I left
Loved
the
Vikander
theater.
one.
What?
great.
Oh, I
Ben
didn't
Wheatley.
see it.
Ben Wheatley, or no, he was gonna do the next one. But now he's not.
I don't know anything
It's a good
about
movie.
the
Check
new
it out.
ones. Okay, noted.
I remember-
But yeah, Mario Brothers. I just remember leaving and being really weirded out by it, but like, I loved it. You know, it was around the time that like I think Casper came out shortly after,
Yeah.
and like it's in
Yes.
that era of movies where like I just wanted to touch and feel the toys and like go to Pizza Hut and collect whatever they had. You know, like
AJ,
it's-
that's pretty awesome because like, it's like you were saying when you're a kid, there's just like it's good or whatever.
yeah.
And then you go back as an adult, you revisit movies. We do it all the time, and you're like, "How did I ever like this trash? Like, what even is this movie? Like, I liked it as
I'm
a kid,
different. I don't know.
And this
I
movie
get
was
scared.
awesome, dude.
Yeah.
Like, this movie, revisiting it, was like, this is even better than I
Yeah.
remember.
No.
Like,
The theme song too is something that permeates my mind. Like the theme song to me carries me through a lot of the movie, where I'm like, "This is fun! Like what
The
a fun
Sylvester,
upbeat." Yeah, the
It sounds like something else. Like everything
kind of
about
sounds
that
like Roger
soundtrack-
Rabbit,
Yeah.
sort of.
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
kinda
Sylvester
does.
did Roger
It
Rabbit,
does.
but
Sylvester, yeah, has kind of
it
always got
has
that going.
a bit of a Pee Wee's Playhouse or like Pee Wee's
Yeah.
Big Adventure. That like dan dan dan.
Was that him or
dan,
that was
dan, dan.
Elfman,
Yeah.
wasn't it?
No, that was Elfman.
Yeah.
But it has that kind of like, what is it, broke down, hoe down? There's like a specific kind of music that is, and it has that
Merry-go-round
bounce
broke
to it.
down.
Yeah. So that's what Judge Doom said. Merry-go-round broke down.
You're totally right, though.
oh,
Oh, you go, Damiani.
I just wanted to say, like, yeah, as a kid, I just remember feeling it was weird to watch it in theaters. My dad took me to see it because no one else wanted to go see it, so I was like, please take me to go see it.
That's exactly what happened to me, yeah.
Here you go, we'll go see it. And he asked me after. I just remember asking, did you like it? Because he thought it was terrible. And I was like, and he also said, like, that didn't look anything like the video game you play. And I'm like, yeah, I was like, okay, yeah, it wasn't. It was. They looked like Mario at the end. I think I remember saying that, but I think I'm most with you, AJ, where as I got older, I had this like desire to show more people it because I noticed people had never seen it before that were,
right.
Our age were going nuts. They like had a great time watching it. So I'm like, this is a great like icebreaker, just like a get together, everyone, and we have nothing to do on a Friday night. Let's watch Mario Brothers the movie. Who hasn't seen it? Oh, you're in for a ride. This is going to be great.
You can't believe it. Like, it's funny to watch people who have never seen it just be like, what is happening? Like, you can't believe that this movie got through the cracks. And so it's nice to experience someone watching it for the first time who just can't, because now Mario's like, it's like Disney, where you can't ever imagine that they did some of the things they did back in the 80s or whatever, like Black Cauldron. Like, that's not the Mickey Mouse or the, Fantasia type stuff we know, or rather like Tangled or something. Yeah. But like, Mario's so wholesome now. Like, when you think of Mario, picture bubbly clouds and so it blows people's minds to see that this movie exists where there's like sex and snakes and slime, and it's just such a beautifully strange creation.
And people get turned into apes and just stay apes forever.
Yeah. It feels like it came out of their dimension. Like this movie slipped out of Dino Hatton into our world, and we just have to accept it as fact.
Which kind of makes it feel like a success. Like this movie, It has a rap of being terrible, and like you were saying, watching it again, I have the benefit of nostalgia, and I watched it with someone who hadn't seen it, and she didn't think it was all that great, but I was definitely that's the thing though. I love it warts and all. Like, this movie is horrible, but everything about it is awesome.
Yeah, it's like I just rewatched Time Cop a few months ago, and there's a scene in the beginning where they're talking about like the government, politics, political. And now watching this, it's like the most interesting parts to me were like the police state and like them trying to find a job so they could pay rent.
Yeah.
It's just like, I'm an adult. I see things differently now. And like things that just I wasn't even paying attention to, I now appreciate and hone in on. And those elements surprised me. And I was actually like invested in their well-being. I was invested in everyone's well-being in this movie. And at the end of the day, that's like all I care about. If I'm invested in the characters, it's a win.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Kind of the Roger Rabbit. Speaking of movies that formed us, like
for me, that one's in there for sure.
There was like a Touchstone Pictures era of movies, or it was like Rocketeer, Roger Rabbit, Dick Tracy, like Hocus Pocus slips sort of in at the end of that, and then this movie. There's like a weird era where I was like heavily affected by Hook, and now as an adult going back, especially Roger Rabbit, I'm like, oh my God. Like I had to shake the weasels. Like there's things that I didn't get as a kid that blow my mind. And, obviously with the Mario Brothers movie, that club scene, I was just like, this makes me feel some kind of way, but I couldn't articulate what it is. And now I'm like, oh, it's sex. This is a scene about sex. And, my young undeveloped mind knew there was something in there, instinctively, but.
Well, and like the line he says after she punches him in the face, he comes back and he goes, "Punch me again. Can you hit me again?" Like, and then she's like, "Dance with me, and I'll do whatever. I'll hit you wherever you like," or whatever. And I'm just like, "Yo, these two are down, and they're into it." And this is like a middle-aged balding man, like doing his thing and like getting in with this lady, and I loved it. And it was like an interracial, like I don't know, everything about it.
As a kid, I was like, this is hot, and I don't know how to articulate it.
Yeah.
No one can
really into
the charm of a Mario. And if he gets shut down, he's like, maybe she's just shy or whatever.
Yeah, maybe she's shy. She's definitely not shy, Mario.
Yeah. And that character especially, I know we touched on her before, but like, I had such an affection for her as a kid because she comes up to him and she's like, "Dance with me, little man," or whatever she said. She like grabs him, makes him dance, and I was like, oh, okay, right on. And then the fact that she helps him out with the boots, like she's sad when she leaves him, but then helps him out with the boots, like I don't know. There was something about her character that I'm like, oh yeah, Big Bertha, I love her. Like they weirdly made her one of the more lovable characters in the whole thing.
She's incredible.
Like,
well, it's weird. Yeah, it's like and it shows you that the proletariat hates the bourgeoisie in this. Like she sees that they're being chased by the cops, and she's like, oh, these guys must be chill then. I better help them out. Like,
yeah.
But yeah. I always felt so sad as a kid when she was sad, yeah.
Yeah, totally, because you feel for her. It's like, oh, she was cool.
Yeah, Big Bertha rules.
Yeah.
And she's like more like you're not sure at first if she's a good guy or a bad guy. I love that.
Yeah, which I always found like exciting as a kid. Like to go back to Hook, I love Dustin Hoffman's character because he's so. I mean, even in the original Peter Pan, you're like, man, he's not a bad guy. He's just like really conflicted. And anytime I saw something like that on screen, I felt really excited by it, and in a way that I don't know how to, especially as a kid, didn't know how to articulate, where I was like, I want to be friends with this person, but they're dangerous. And it made me feel, I don't know, it made me more invested in them, like Belloc and Raiders of the Lost Ark, where I'm like, oh, they're friends, but they're not friends.
But they dick each other over every couple of years. Yeah.
There's something about that kind of character that's just exciting, I think, for kids too. It's like, I want to be friends, or like Snape is a good example. Like, I just want him to like me.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, iconic performances in this movie. Dennis Hopper is just like unhinged and
amazing.
nasty.
He's having the best time of anyone there. He's gotta be. Yeah.
And
where's my pizza?
Yeah, the pizza jokes at the end.
Yeah.
When he orders a pizza, he's holding the light gun, like the computer's using light guns.
Uses that tag.
It's so stupid, but I love it.
Question about that. Question about the gun thing. Was that because they didn't even know that like touch screens could be a thing?
Yeah.
At that time when the movie was made,
it's
they
because
thought
of the
that
duck
was
hunt.
high tech.
The duck hunt gun, so they were just doing
definitely
that.
had touch screens in like Lost in Space in the 60s.
Yeah,
I guess Die Hard has the touch screen.
Yeah.
They were doing. I think they were doing it because it's a light gun, and they were just saying, "What if they used an Uzi light gun to use
their Because then the
computer?
cameras were guns too. It was
It's
like
great.
some
Yeah,
gun
it's-
obsession.
Yeah.
So
That pizza scene is also kind of underrated. I love that
It's
the
so
pizza
funny.
guy's like, "Hey, what's up, Koopa?" Like saying,
Yes.
won't say, like everyone's
king of the world,
terrified of
dude.
Koopa, and this guy's just like, "Yeah, extra,
what's up,
extra,"
dude?
And there's something really fun about that. He
It's
just,
just like
does
hold
not
the
care.
mammal.
Yeah. It's one of the better relationships in the entire film. This pizza guy and Koopa, they have a very warm,
and it's
loving
a-
relationship.
It's a runner too, because later when he's trying to deal with all the shit, he's like, "And where's my pizza?" And then and then a little later, like the next scene or two, he's like trying to flamethrower Mario, and then the radio says, "Your pizza's here." And he's like, "Not now." It's just like this
So
runner with
good.
the pizza, dude.
I love that they took time out. Is that even in any way, does that connect back to the plot? I don't
No,
remember. It's just a
that's
scene
nothing
where
to do with anything.
I feel like every movie in the 90s, it was mandatory you ordered a pizza, like Ninja
Yeah.
Turtles or like Three Ninjas. There's so many movies. Where, like,
anchovies.
yeah, exactly.
No anchovies. But Bob Hoskins, I just love Bob. I mean,
Legend.
like Who Framed Roger
Best.
Rabbit is another perfect movie to me.
Totally. Yeah.
Big
yeah.
Hoskins fan.
Yeah.
Love
he's
that. Long Good Friday, shout
Good
out.
Friday.
What is Long Good Friday? I don't.
Oh,
know.
dude, you'd love it.
AJ, dude.
Tell me.
Dude,
Tell me about it.
It has one of my favorite movie soundtracks and maybe my favorite final shot of a movie
AJ.
ever.
AJ, you'd love it. You'd love
Yeah.
it.
What is
It's
it
a long-
about? Give me a synopsis.
It's
like
a
noir.
mobster. It's a mobster
Yeah.
movie.
Okay, with Bob
He's-
Hoskins.
It's like
Yeah,
70s noir. 70s, right?
70s. He's like a mobster.
Oh, that's awesome.
Don't want to
Yeah.
say much more than that.
All right.
He's
I love
having a bad day. He's having a real long
love-
Good Friday, if you know what I mean.
Ian, I love when characters I love are having bad days.
Yeah, dude.
Unhinged.
The stories he tells specifically about this movie and then also about Roger Rabbit are great. If you haven't heard, I mean, I'm sure Ian, you've probably heard this, but him being like, "I'll go home and I'll be hallucinating there with rabbits," and it's so funny to hear. Like my kids will be like, "Daddy, what's wrong?" He'll be like, "Oh, I see a fucking rabbit. There's a rabbit on the ceiling all day. I'm talking to rabbits."
You forget that he's like got this amazing accent.
Yeah, totally, because he's always
He's
American.
a
and everything.
Brooklyner all the time.
Yeah, and it's
But he
God,
liked being on Roger Rabbit, right?
He liked being on Roger Rabbit, but the way he tells it sounds like he was losing his damn mind.
Well,
And there's-
because it was all him. They didn't have like a
crazy.
reference for that movie at all. He just looked at stuff and then they animated it in later, and it's all because he's an amazing like mime.
it's
Wow.
yeah, it's
That's a
great.
10.
There's a breakdown on, I think it's on the DVD, where they show the sort of black and white drawings around his performance, where it's him like when he goes in that one building where it's me, Mina Hyena. It's all him against nothing, and this is all before motion
like the whole
capture,
movie,
blue
yeah.
screen. So he's like a pioneer in this stuff. Where he's like, I'm just imagining everything.
Andy Serkis before Andy Serkis.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's go.
No,
So
but
he
think
doesn't
about
know
all
who
the
to talk
times
to.
when he's like handcuffed to Roger Rabbit for like
Yeah.
I
for like
love
30
that.
minutes, and like it's all just him doing shit, and like
It's
putting him in
brilliant.
and out of the sink and stuff. It's crazy.
It's funny because now, I mean, doing mocap and stuff, it's what you have to do.
Yeah.
Like you're constantly pretending, and I think of him all the time. And every time I've had to do something like that, where you picture him being like, "Oh, I wash the dishes and pretend he's a rabbit," he had no one to relate to back then. Now it's people like, "Yeah, I do mocap, and it's just I'm in a volume."
I'm a
but
PCAP
like,
artist.
yeah, but he was the first guy.
That's incredible. I love
He's I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there are other people like it, but really, that's all the rubber Rogers they had in that bar scene. Like if you, I don't know. I'm gonna wax poetical about Roger Rabbit. That movie's brilliant.
One of my favorite things. We'll get back to Mario in a second, but one of my favorite things about the Who Framed Roger Rabbit is that every scene in the train that goes by at the end, if you like freeze frame through it, is a murder or a suicide happening.
What?
In every single train in the train car. It's so fast that you don't see it. It's like one frame each, but it's a riff on like Murder on the Orient Express or whatever. But they were like, what if every car has some crazy illicit thing happening?
Is it
and
animated
just
or is it like
by.
real photos?
It's in Toontown, so it's a Toon
okay.
train.
That's awesome. It's not like, man, there's so many things that like the Jessica Rabbit like no underwear moment. There's so many weird things they sneak into that movie, and
Yeah, dude.
my man.
The bullets are so iconic.
I
love
and
the
then they do
bullets.
Love the
nothing.
bullets.
There's such a build up for
Yeah,
those bullets,
great,
and then they
yeah.
just go the wrong.
Yeah.
Which is it?
great.
Were they the inspiration for the characters in Back to the Future, or is it vice versa? The
bullets?
the bullets, the ones in the Back to the Future Part 3, the three crazy guys sitting at the table when Doc's regaling them about the future, and they're like, "Run for fun!" They're them,
yeah.
like they're
Oh
like,
yeah,
they're-
they are.
It's probably
And then
just
there's
the
the
same-
inspiration for the crazy people in Cowboy Bebop. That's like Cowboy Bebop, the
Yeah.
old senile
Well, yeah,
people.
the-
Yeah.
Seems
that
that way.
guy who did that, like, you better run, squirrel.
Okay.
I forget his name, but he's a famous voice actor from. He was in like the original Robin Hood cartoon, the Disney cartoon.
Wow.
So he's in a bunch of westerns and stuff. I can't think of his name. He's very famous.
Those
but like,
two good buddies were us, you old fool. That's Cowboy Bebop.
I gotta watch it. I've
You haven't
watched.
seen Cowboy Bebop?
Well, people always give me crap for this, but
I've
like
been listening
I
to the
always
soundtrack.
watch some of it, and then I kind of like slowly drift off. I've done this 2 or 3 times. Where I
You gotta
like
get
5
you gotta get
episodes in.
through. You gotta like it. Definitely, it's a slower start, but it like
Right.
all pays out. Like the first like leader for the ongoing plot is episode 5.
I'm trying to watch Berserk now. That's where I'm at.
Oh, the movies.
No, the original '90s series.
I've heard
Oh.
that's bad. I haven't seen
Okay.
that, but I watched the 3 Golden Arc movies,
Okay.
and
Yeah, watch those.
watch those.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just watch those 3 movies
Well,
because
you know how obsessed we all are with Dark Souls, so I was like, I
Right.
gotta watch Berserk.
well, because
And
I watched those movies and that's all I knew. Is that all you know?
What?
That it's kind of like Dark Soulsy.
Sort of, yeah, basically. I was like,
Good,
guts
good.
and the
Don't look
Onion
into
Knight
it.
and- yeah.
Don't look into it and just watch the Golden Arc. There's 3 movies. Watch all 3 of them.
So I shouldn't do the series. I've
No.
heard people have told me to watch the series instead.
I've heard
Nah,
bad things
nah.
about both series.
I've heard
but
bad
I
things
don't
about
know
both
who to
series.
believe.
I don't know.
Yeah.
There's the new one that's happening now. Golden Arc, but either way, the Golden Arc is a prequel. The manga starts after the Golden Age arc,
Crazy.
so you can start with those movies anyway.
Oh,
Um,
good to know.
and
I
it's
just want as much Bloodborne and Dark Souls content in my life as I can possibly get.
I wanna
so-
I wanna like have a camera on your face as you watch the 3rd movie.
Oh no! Is it like, like Sword Art Online?
I've said too much.
cringy?
I've
Okay,
said too
sorry.
much.
All right.
Just watch them and then report back to me, please.
All right. I'm excited and terrified. I feel like I may still keep going with the series, but all right.
I worry about the series spoiling the movies.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah, I have no idea what to expect other than it's super violent. And I picked up the first page of the manga, and he's like banging a demon, and I was like, right on, cool, all right, let's see where
So-
this is going.
So the Golden Age arc starts pretty normal, like everything's normal. So like it doesn't ramp into that shit until like a little later. So I was just like, what the fuck is happening? Like I didn't know any of that was gonna happen. Anyway,
Right.
we
That
are
was me
way
watching
off.
Sword Art Online for the first time.
There's also
Where it got to the
Inspired
end of the
Mario.
Way
first
off
season, I
topic.
was like,
Yeah,
Sorry,
it's the true
movie.
story of Mario.
yeah.
Anything else we have to say? It seems like we're done talking about
There's
Mario.
probably so much about this movie that we could talk about. I do, if anyone's interested, the documentary that the Gaming Historian did
Gaming
is
Historian.
phenomenal. It's so
I
comprehensive.
want to watch that. I
and
haven't seen that.
Same,
It's
yeah, that
it's
sounds
like an
awesome.
hour or two long or something. Like it's really good and really covers a lot of stuff and goes through everything Damiani was talking about and I was talking about, where you get a really clear and solid sense of how at odds they were with the directors, why this developed into what it developed, and it makes you sort of, for me, it sort of puts me at ease with like, oh, okay, now I know why this happened this way, and there's a big sense of relief I get, because you look at something like this and you go, how does this exist? And it's like, oh, okay, you took a bunch of bees and scorpions and threw them in a box and shook them up and then said, make something,
And wrote Mario on the outside of the
Mario,
box.
exactly. It's just so, it seemed like there was just so much mismanagement and poor choices. And one thing that we didn't touch on is everyone in the crew was like award-winning, like Oscar-winning.
The
like
production design was incredible. Actually,
It's
amazing.
insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the cinematographer was like the guy who did The Godfather, like the sound people
Yeah.
did The Godfather. Like it's everyone is
Alan
like
Silvestri
top,
did the
top
soundtrack.
tier. Right. And so everyone was like, this is going to be easy. But they got the best of the best outside of the directors to fill up every position, it sounds like. And so it's crazy to see,
Should have got
which is
Harold
why
Ramis.
in some way it's
Yeah.
kind of beautiful in a weird way. Like the production design is really interesting and the music's great. I don't know.
Well,
There's a
like
lot
I
to
said
love.
before, like even at the casting and crewing up stage of this, like you're saying, they took a big swing, and
Yeah.
like I can't fault them for that. Like it didn't pay off in a traditional good filmmaking sense, but like it's a fascinating piece of history, and I just love it to pieces, despite all its terrible qualities.
Yeah, I would love to see it refilmed. Not to go on this for too long, but refilmed with the guys from the opening of the Super Mario Brothers show. The older Mario and the older, like, it's the Mario Brothers. Like, just remake the movie with those two. That's it. That's my dream.
Does this predate the cartoon, or does it come
The
after the
cartoon
cartoon?
came first.
Yeah,
Okay,
which
okay.
is crazy because they figured it out. They figured out a narrative.
they were doing
Why not
it.
just expand on that?
aside from the Bill and Ted writer, the other two writers on it have like 3 credits. It's pretty wild.
Funny.
Is it? I think the directors wrote it, right? Is it Rocky Morton and?
Parker Bennett and Terry Runt,
Oh,
and then Ed Solomon as well, and he's the Bill and Ted person.
There's definitely
Crazy.
a sprinkling of Bill and Ted sensibility throughout this.
Oh, definitely.
Probably came in and touched it up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
doctored it a little. Yeah, well, thank you all so much. This was a hoot.
Yeah. So
This,
glad
this filthy movie.
it's filthy.
Filthy in the best way.
Filthy.
Yeah.
It's filthy and it's clean at the same time.
Yeah,
it's dirty
exactly.
and it's
I was
clean at
hoping
the
you'd
same
say
time.
that.
This
Yeah.
movie.
Egg sack, dude. It was
Yeah.
gross. It was like,
Fungus.
look at
It's
this.
a natural occurring fungus.
Wait,
It's the
Koopa-
king.
Koopa's description of mud is the perfect description for this movie. It's dirty and it's clean at the same
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, and the way he reacts to it, like is exactly how I feel about the movie.
Yeah, yeah. You're like, yeah. What
Put
is
it
this?
on. Make a boiling pot of mud and watch.
It felt wrong not watching it on VHS. I'll say that. That's the
my
true
burned
format
DVD,
for this movie.
uh,
It was a DVD. I watched it on a DVD.
Mine's burned, and I drew a picture of like the Mario Brothers on
Oh
it.
my
so
God.
It's also shitty.
That's amazing. All right. Well, Damiani, Huber, AJ, thank you so much. Thank you all to all of our patrons. You're all patrons if you're watching this, unless you pirated it.
Like me.
But yeah, thank you so much. And we will be back again this month with the Street Fighter spoiler mode, Street Fighter the movie spoiler mode. And coming soon, we will have an audio commentary, no video component for this because you can sync it up to the movie yourself for the Monster Hunter movie. And it'll be, I think, our first viewing of that movie as we're doing a commentary.
Ian, I just had an idea right now for reaction shots.
Uh-huh.
The muscles from Brussels, baby. Van Damme. We should do a Van
Alright.
Damme reaction shots.
Okay. Van Damme is a bit of a blind spot for me. I haven't seen too many of his things, I think.
Bloodsport. It's the first time I ever saw
Bloodsport, I've
bone
never seen
pop
that.
out of skin was that movie. It's one of those things you'll never unsee as a kid. I know it's fake now, but as a kid, I was like,
Bones can pop out of skin.
anyway.
I saw my friend's leg pop out of his skin snowboarding. That was pretty wild.
Ooh, that's nice.
All right, see ya.
On that note, ExpressVPN.
Spoiler mode.